and welcome to Palestinapodden. We are very excited to talk with our next guest.
We are honored to speak with Mariam Barghouti, a prominent Palestinian writer, researcher and journalist.
Her work has been featured in major international outlets such as the New York Times, Jazeera English, The Guardian and the BBC, where she offers critical analysis and reporting on the Israeli occupation, especially in the West Bank.
She brings a powerful voice to the global conversation on human rights, Palestinian resistance and narrative control. It's a privilege to have her with us today to share her insights, experience and reflections.
Have a good listen and, as always, Free Palestine. Mariam Barghouti, thank you so much for being with us.
Yeah.
We first want to ask you, because you live in the West Bank, can you tell us about the current situation in the West Bank?
Yeah, I mean, the situation in the West Bank in terms of Israeli expansion is just really accelerating at a terrifying rate. And worst is there isn't much coverage of it, right? So the Israeli government, as well as armed Israeli militias, are taking advantage of that. So what we're seeing is more land annexation, more armed Israeli groups invading Palestinian homes in different areas and villages, even in places like Ramallah, which this really hasn't taken place in decades almost, pushing Palestinian families out under the protection of the Israeli military. We're seeing more Palestinians being killed. We have had the largest displacement campaign since 1967 happen in areas like Tulkarem, Jenin, and Tubas. That's the north of the West Bank. And then at the same time, the Israeli government is moving to not just de facto annex lands, but they're breaking Palestinians apart. So you have like the E1 plan, right? The expansion of Ma'ali Adumim, which means the center, places like Ramallah, is cut off from the north. Tulkarem, Jenin is cut off from the south, Hebron, Beit Lahem. So we can't even access each other to help, like basic medical support or just being there knowing what's happening to each other. So what we're seeing is ethnic cleansing, very blatantly happening by Israel. Yeah.
Can you tell us, like, if you're going from one place to another, how is like the road? What is the route? Say if you're going from one city to another in the West Bank?
It's really hard to say, and that's because every time is different, right? So instead of going, the straight route, normal route, for example, to Jenin, oftentimes different parts or different villages are closed off, or the main road is closed off by soldiers who will shoot at you, even if you're pressed, for example. So you'd have to go from between other villages, and what would take 45 minutes now takes 3 hours. And it's not just a delay of time, it's anxiety-inducing because you don't know what's going to happen at a checkpoint. I've had times where I was driving from Ramallah, the center to the north, to Jenin to cover an operation happening. And it was 3 hours at the checkpoint. And then in the end, the soldiers stopped, my car, demanded I turn off the engine. And you need to remember, they're holding guns in your face. They're very, very arrogant about it. And they did that just so they can record a dance video of each other and send it to their family. So they just stopped the car, began dancing, recording a selfie. I'm not able to move or do anything. And they did that, and we were stuck there for like 20 minutes in addition to the 3 hours before. So traveling and it's dangerous. It's actually a dangerous task. And you're seeing more soldiers shoot Palestinians at checkpoints and then claim, it was a Palestinian attack or whatever. So, and then more than this is people are afraid to travel. I travel more because I'm a journalist, so I have an exceptional case. But for many Palestinians, especially youth, they're afraid because they're arresting them on the checkpoints. So they'll stop the car, search everyone's IDs, and then randomly just take youth and then take them to prison for months under administrative detention. But it's a war zone. You're traveling in a war zone. Yeah.
And but is there any difference for you to like, because you were saying you're wearing a press vest, or you're saying that you're pressed, but they don't care, right? There's no like difference.
No, if anything, it puts a target on your back.
Exactly.
So at this point, yani, I actually removed my press insignia so that you don't become a target because they have shot at press cars before with very clearly it says press. They're often, my colleagues are wearing their flak jackets. I just started taking it off while I'm traveling in the checkpoints.
And these changes of routes and how to travel from city to city, is it like a psychological thing they do to like oppress you even more, or is it like a practical reason for it, you know?
It's both.
Yeah.
One is a show of force,
Yeah.
that we are the ones controlling this land. And you'd hear statements from Itamar Ben Gvir, for example, saying, now is the time to enforce and show Israeli sovereignty over this land. And they enact it. So it's a show of force. And there is a strategy to it. It's not random. They're cutting Palestinians off now. They did this also in the 60s during Operation Focus. They ensured that roads are destroyed between villages, that Palestinians can't access each other. Because what does that mean? We don't talk to each other. We can't mobilize. We can't fight back. So there is a tactical aspect to it as well.
And as a journalist as well, how does the Israeli occupation affect your ability to work?
They don't want us to work. So that's the intention. The launching point is like, we don't want journalists here. And so it's a constant battle every single time, especially as a local journalist. They have zero respect for Palestinian life, right? Which is why there's a constant demand that international journalists come and cover. Because to an extent, Israel does... There's more repercussions and more bureaucratic measures taken if, you know, a colleague from, let's say, CNN is shot than me. So that's the launching point. And yeah, it's a constant battle accessing people, trying to document. They often steal our cameras. So if, like in Jenin, there were many times where we filmed and then the army would come, you know, and try and take our memory cards from the camera or force us to delete everything or detain us. So they're constantly obstructing our job. And we follow protocols, you know, as journalists. They tell us, no, you can't film here. We say, okay, we move, we go to another location. They'll come there, they'll say, no, didn't we tell you to leave? Give us your, you know.
Yeah.
Sinister.
It is.
And has it always been like this?
It has always been like this, but not to this intensity and frequency. You know, remember Shireen Abu Akleh, 2022. She was shot and killed covering Jenin, clear press insignia. But now I think with Gaza, when 250, you know, of our peers were killed, and there wasn't much outrage, I think Israel recognizes we can obstruct journalists and get away with it. We can execute journalists and get away with it.
Speaking of international journalists as well, in Western media, there seems to be a lack of credibility towards Palestinian journalists, and somehow it always needs to be verified by Israel, for example. What is your experience with working with the international media?
Trash. It is a trash experience. They show no respect to you as a Palestinian journalist. And there's something that's very important to know. Most of these international correspondents have Palestinian fixers, have Palestinian producers, have Palestinians finding the contacts and the stories for them. But when we have become the ones to report the story, suddenly they don't want that voice. Although in reality, they were getting a lot of their information also from us because we do our jobs and we do it well. So the issue isn't that they need it verified by the Israeli army. It's that they prioritize the Israeli army. Now, this is an army being accused of committing crimes against humanity and genocide, even if it's a matter of debate, even if it's debate, despite the fact that this is a reality. It's real, it's happening, it's been proven. But let's say it's a debate. Why are you bringing them on? Why are you legitimizing that? And at the same time, you're saying, oh, you know, the Palestinians are not really objective. you know?
Yeah.
But you're
As if
bringing
the
a military.
Israelis are.
As if the Israelis are. And at the same time, you'd bring an Israeli military commander, you know, who's engaging in crimes against humanity, but they won't interview a Palestinian Hamas official. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's, again, you know, if you don't want to speak with people, you say, oh, they're committing crimes. That's what they say about Hamas. And don't interview the Israeli army either. So, yeah.
And you see a lot of like they're speaking, and we can notice this even in Norwegian media, where there's a lot speaking about us and not with us. And this is a big problem, I think. And this is probably also one of the reasons why we made this podcast, is that there is a lack of like actually getting the Palestinian voice out there.
Yeah.
It is the main reason why we made this.
Yeah.
Because it's such
But what do you feel like? I mean, because we have Norwegian journalists that are in Tel Aviv, they're in Istanbul, they're in like when Israel and Iran were having when they were in a war, they were in like the different places that Israel was attacked. I can't remember the cities right now, but they're not in the West Bank.
No. And they don't want to come to the West Bank. You know, a lot of them, their bureaus are in places like Tel Aviv and Jerusalem, but they refuse to come to the West Bank. But at the same time, you hear them, let us into Gaza, let us into Gaza. There's a job for you to do. Here, it's right here. You know, it's 30 minutes drive from your office. But they refuse. And if they do, it's also very problematic, because when they do cover, it's often muddled in misinformation or a narrative that confuses audiences rather than informs audiences. You know, that's journalistic malpractice. But yeah, I don't think there's the right ethics being conducted by international correspondents. And that's because they enter with assumptions that are very problematic. As a journalist, you're not supposed to have assumptions. And I promise you, anyone with a clear-headed mind that comes to Palestine can see the story for what it is by just doing their job. Stick to the book, you know?
In Norway, as many other Western countries, we talk a lot about free speech.
Yeah.
What is your perspective on free speech in the Western world?
It's BS. I think the Western world has been deluded into thinking it lives in democracy. Oh, and you can speak and you can, you know, talk and express yourself and you have the right for political engagement. But on the ground, you don't, you know. And Palestine is an exemplary case of that. We will let you speak about some things, but not all things. Not the things that policymakers, you know, have a benefit from. Or, again, things like the oil trade with Israel. So people don't talk about that. Or the match that is happening in Norway, for example, this month between Israel and Norway. I know I've been speaking a lot more with people here, and they tell me, you know, when they're interviewed and they mention the match, their quotes are often taken out and not reported. So that's censorship, right? That is you as a journalist choosing what is more important rather than allowing your interviewee decide what is important to them. You're acting as an interviewer and an interviewee at that moment. So I don't think there's freedom of speech, and that's dangerous because look, Palestinians, we're used to the world not caring about us, or not talking about us for decades. It's fine. It's okay. We get it. This is about the people here. It's like your repression. You know, it's not. We don't highlight this because just for Palestine, right? We highlight this because there's a problem here. And it's going to bite you back later on, regardless of Palestine.
100%. You were speaking a bit about censorship. Can you describe what sort of censorship there has been towards Palestinians? Both, I think there's also like in terms of like regular media, but also social media, there is a big issue with censorship.
I mean, so censorship takes multiple forms. Like, how would you define censorship?
I mean, for my own, one thing is like silencing voices.
Yeah.
Silencing voices. You know, for example, today you were publishing something. It took you hours to publish it because you were speaking up against Israel. Like these kind of things where you feel like, no, it can't really be because of this or because of that, but it actually is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's present everywhere. I think here it takes that form. It's like this denial of access to platforms. In Palestine, locally, it has several layers. One of them is we don't have the access to media, especially, again, international media. Not only because they refuse to come to areas like the West Bank, but Israel, the government, the Ministry of Strategic Affairs, so the government hires a minder to the international correspondence. You know, every chief, bureau chief comes, they hire a minder. So if they write an article that's like a bit wrong or shows Israel in bad light, the minder will call up that correspondent and be like, hey, you know, we saw your latest article. It's good. Maybe you can do better. You know, we'd hate to see your GPO revoked. It's very messed up. So that's why the correspondents, you know, it's pressure. Sometimes there are good people just unable to deal with pressure. That's the first censorship. We don't have access. The second is social media has been so important and significant in taking alternative means, saying like, okay, we don't need someone asking us the questions. We can give the answers regardless. And then you saw, again, more lobbying on our content just being removed consistently and constantly. But genocidal statements by Israeli officials, freedom of speech.
Yeah.
You know, so this helped deny us. And then the last thing, which is so sinister by Israel, and that is the denial of access. So we have Palestinian detainees, 14,000 this year. That is record high. Yeah. And they're not being imprisoned. They're in torture chambers. They're actual torture chambers. Denied sunlight, denied food, denied medical access. In the dozens, they're being killed. This is before their most recent plan to legalize execution of detainees.
Which I don't think a lot of people know about, actually, because it hasn't been reported anywhere.
And it's not just not reported. They deny detainees after release capacity to travel. And states like Norway and Europe treat them like terrorists. Yeah. So they're not even able to come and share their story. Yeah. That's censorship. So that's what we have to do. We're in a prison. We are in a prison where, you know, out of sight, out of mind attempts. Yeah. But there was another point that I think is specific to Norway. And that is we speak about, you know, censorship about news flowing from Palestine to the outside world. But there is like a lot of access to archives in Norway that's not being covered. There's, for example, the temporary presence in Hebron, TIF. They used to work in Hebron. They had Norwegians with them, and they used to send daily reports about the violations for 20 years. They're locked up here in Norway in an archive with no one able to access them. Yeah. That's huge censorship from people. So I think that's important to know. Things like the National Museum of Norway that has, you know, a guard standing at this tapestry by Noah Eshkol. Yeah. Who is the daughter of Levi Eshkol. He was one of the ministers of Israel. Yeah,
prime ministers.
Yeah. They have a guard there, but then the Palestinian Toba or whatever is like all the way in the back in this dark room. That's censorship. So these things here, people think it's just about flow of information outside. I'm like, no, it's in front of your face. Your government is banning you from seeing things here. It's not, no checkpoints, nothing, as you said, but it's here. Yeah. So yeah. That's another form.
And you also have the two other forms of censorship that they do. We have a Norwegian journalist, an editor actually, that went to Israel on the IDF tour to see what is happening in Palestine. That's also a form of censorship, to just show one perspective. And you also have the other one, like naming superheroes after massacres and removing them from Google searches.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And I also think when we're talking about international media as well, because there is that language that they use as well, right? dozens killed in Gaza.
Died. I wish they'd say
Died.
killed. They just died.
Yeah. Dozens died in Gaza. Not telling who, how, or who did it, or
they just fell.
yeah, they just fell. It's so
manipulative.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And what do you think that does to audiences that reads this?
It's strategic. It denies capacity to recognize urgency, right? And it denies capacity to build empathy. It's agenda setting by reporters. And then, but again, they also do it on purpose, like the going on the IDF tour. Why would you do that as a journalist? You know, if you want to embed with the army, then report on the army, but don't take that. It's lazy. It's really lazy. And I also don't think it's enough for us to keep blaming editorial policies, because if you are a reporter with just a grain of integrity, journalistic integrity, you would push back, you know?
Yeah.
Because it is manipulative, not for Palestinians, for the audience.
Yeah.
You are a person of service. Provide service.
Yeah. They also, I mean, watching Al Jazeera now, for example, they always say like, they're always reporting from Amman because Israel has shut down the Ramallah office. That is also, again, the form of censorship that how do you make news that gets out there for people? I mean, you're very active. You've been writing a lot. You do social media a lot. But how do you get through to other news agencies?
I mean, the best I can do, I try to write whatever I can. I focus on long features. So I try to document as much as possible and put it out there for accountability measures in the future. So I've taken a different route rather than just hard, immediate news. The Al Jazeera was completely banned by both Israel and the Palestinian Authority, for that matter. So they had to leave because they actually they can't report from the West Bank or inside, Jerusalem, or about Palestinians with Israeli citizenship. But I also learned something else, and that is from my social media activity. Keep things short. So I learned how to try and report to people keywords, and I have hope that they can look up further. So like keeping things short so that if it is removed, people have the capacity of quickly enough to just copy paste something or just remember. So yeah.
Yeah. Clever. No, it is.
You learn so much.
Yeah. It is very like, we were speaking with someone last week, and he was saying it's so weird that, this is a bit off rail, but he was saying that it's so weird that Palestinians have to become influencers.
Yeah.
Especially in Gaza, where they have to but they learn, they adapt, they learn, they're really good, take nice shots and help us donate to my family, and they have these really amazing videos, but it's so beyond, you have to just adjust so that, and grab attention as quickly as you can so that you can actually get the attention.
Yeah. It's dystopian.
Yeah.
And it's sad because I think a lot about this exactly, actually. I'm because, when a lot of people doom scroll, right? And we have 15-second attention span. But I would look at, the likes or the shares of different posts, and I'd notice the ones from Gaza, real families that need real support, that are just real quickly made, not well made, don't get as much attention as the ones, they had to do that. And for me, it's do people on the outside not understand that they have to walk for hours to charge a phone? Sometimes they're borrowing a phone and then go on a rooftop where there's a drone to upload it. People don't have the time or energy to address your needs for aesthetic, and yet they did that. And yet they did that. Yeah. But it's telling of us, and we're so selfish as a people, that I need it to look good for me to believe it.
Yeah. It needs to be interesting.
Yeah.
Wow.
Aesthetically pleasing for my feed, for my story.
Exactly.
But it is like that, yeah.
It is. Yeah. And English, kids as young as 14 I've met taught themselves English in this war so that they can speak to the outside world.
Yeah.
It's incredible, but it's, on the other hand, it's telling, of the world's affairs, of us.
Yeah.
It speaks of us as well.
It does.
Yeah. Have you, do you have any, like speaking of Gaza as well, do you have any dialogue with any of your colleagues there? And how is that?
Yes, since the beginning of the war, I tried to get in touch with a lot of my peers in Gaza, many of whom I actually got to know, as a result of what's been happening now. And it's a gift. It's truly a gift that I get to many of whom that were killed, and some that I'm still in touch with, but they're your peers, and you can speak to them as journalists, and we speak to each other, hey, update me, tell me their mothers and their fathers and their siblings. I'm losing words to share at this point. يعني إيش بدكم, like, what do you say? Would you sit in line and be like, it's going to be okay, I just need you to be a bit stronger, or how do you offer comfort in these times? So I tried to stay in touch and to keep workflow going, sometimes. And it helps me when things hit the fan in the West Bank, like, okay, just go work. But it's hard. Yeah.
We had the exact same conversation before we met you. Like, how do we, as I'm living in Norway, like, how do we meet someone from the West Bank, seeing all this shit and talking to people in Gaza, and how do you, like, and we wanted to ask you also, like, how do you personally cope with the emotional toll of reporting on Israeli violence, displacement, and the systematic injustice?
I don't know if I am coping. I think we're all here as well, but we're going on emergency mode. I was speaking to friends before I came here. I'm like, what is happening to us? Like, why do I feel this way, or why am I unable? And she made a very good point to me. She's like, Mariam, we don't have time to reflect and process, okay? Like, this is fine. You don't need to know right now.
Yeah.
And it's true, we don't. Like, we haven't had a moment to, there's an urgency. We need people to stop being killed.
Yeah.
And that's how we keep going. You wake up, okay, there's still more people being killed. You might get, like, into despair for a bit, a couple of hours, a couple of days. But there comes a point where you're like, oh, no, we can't. Because by that time, 50 more were just killed, right? That's how, it's not coping any. We're not coping, nobody's coping.
No.
People are going, we're all going.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's, I mean, but it feels so stupid when you're in Norway, like, we're privileged being here, and like, we can do all these things, and we have a certain extent of free speech, and we don't have to go through checkpoints, and we don't have to deal with the Israeli army to do our jobs, and it's like it's a curse and a blessing, because even though you kind of wish that you were there with all of you, and we're so grateful that you're here and speaking with us. But we wish that we were there, but I don't know how I would deal with it. But it is what you're saying. It's like, it is like when we feel like, oh my God, everything is going to shit, but we're like, we're not under the same circumstance. Like, buckle up, like, we need to go. So it's when you're saying this, it motivates us even more to, like, get the tears away. Let's go.
Or keep them, but go.
Yeah. Cry and go.
Cry and go. That's so important, Rania, because I think that was part of why, if you notice, in the media, a lot of what was shown and a lot of what does remain on socials is the ugliness of it, right? It's not the analysis. It's not the expert opinions. It's not the changing. It's showing Israel's brutality. And that's they said war of attrition in November 2024, I believe. That was on purpose. They want to deplete not Palestinians, but the world, because they know that's where the pressure is. So the checkpoint might not come in the form of a soldier stopping you from going to work. But there you have so many checkpoints here. Like, that's something I've learned in Norway. Great, wonderful, beautiful solidarity. But there's so many checkpoints being, like, indoctrinated in people. And you're fighting overcoming that. But the despair is normal. I keep remembering, this is not my guilt to carry. This is for Israel. We're trying to do better. where we see ugly, on the other end there's something great. So يعني sometimes I focus on that as well. You know, هم حطوا حالهم in the center.
Yeah, and that's something we need to keep reminding people that they are not the center. We are.
We are, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so hard to keep remembering this though. You know, yeah.
Because what's been important for us as well is that Palestinians throughout, like we're Palestinians that have been living in Norway our whole life. Both of us have been to Palestine only once.
Yeah.
And we've been shown the beauty of Palestine, you know. We grow up, we get fed as much as we can. We like you have this sense of like we have a different image of Palestine.
Yeah.
Than everyone else. And that's something that we see in the news as well, that Palestinians are only numbers, their destruction, can you just tell us a bit about like how, when you read about Palestine in the news, what do you feel? What do you feel like we can also tell our international journalists? What sort of job can they do? That was a lot of questions at once, but...
Yeah, no. I mean, كله بيجي it all comes to the same point, and do their jobs. I wish we are asking for more. Honestly, I really wish we were asking for anything more from these correspondents. Just do your job. We are not asking for preferential treatment. Buy the book. Go. Find the fact check, do the two sources, speak with both sides, but please do both sides. You know, right now there's preferential treatment for Israel and verification for that. So because عن جد, when I read about Palestine, I'm like, I get it. I get why the world thinks the way it does. Yani, but that's manufacturing consent. Yani, I'm seeing the result of it. But at the same time, I can't just blame media. People are smart. I don't treat my audiences as ignorant and stupid. I treat them as intelligent. So I report accordingly. I think you can't just keep saying, well, that's what the media shows me. Yeah. For adults, I'm speaking about adults. You're an adult. Go learn if you want to learn. If you want to be spoon-fed, be spoon-fed, but you're going to be complicit. Yani. You can't say anything in the future when we hold you accountable. But do your job.
Yeah.
How long have you been in Norway now? Since Thursday?
Yeah.
So
a couple of
4 days. Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you heard anything from Norwegian news media outlets?
I've spoken with NRK. Yeah. I've spoken with NRK, which is interesting because, I suppose the correspondent I spoke with was lovely and asked questions and all of that. But at the same time, I can recognize how, again, they just want to focus on, these personal anecdotal stories rather than big picture political conversation story. So it's like, a storytelling session rather than, okay, let's speak politics. It's telling of how their coverage was before, that means their audiences don't know anything. Yeah. So they have to ask me the basic. But if they know their audiences know, we could have spoken, more intentionally. Yeah. Right. But nonetheless, it's still a good step, nonetheless. Yeah. Yeah. Can't take away from that. Yeah.
What can we do to help amplify Palestinian journalists?
That's a really good question. I don't know if I have some answers, but I don't know. Like, these are just things that we've thought about together back home. One is translating. So, in the West Bank, something I've noticed a lot is there's very few of us that speak English and are reporting in English, right? But local media, Arabic reported local, is incredible. I mean, the work they're doing is so incredible. We just need translators to, Norwegian, to English, we need that translated. So if we can always get help with that, it's amazing. Showing them that they are heard, again, connecting more journalists together, international with local, helps build and foster relationships. And I think one of the best ways to help is to allow up-and-coming journalists abroad to come train with Palestinian journalists. because I do think Palestinian journalists are experts in war reporting, right? And they're people that don't succumb to pressure, and they're very professional. They're so professional. When Anas al-Sharif's dad, was killed, back on camera the next day. When Shuruqa Alia's husband was killed, back made a documentary, Emmy award-winning documentary. Like the standards, the professionalism that they uphold is truly incredible. So to bring them to learn, it's not just Palestinians need to learn things. خلصنا. Palestinians learned their rights in international law. They learned emergency responses from all these NGOs.
Yeah.
And then I come to Nora, I'm like, you guys need to learn your rights.
Now they're going to learn us how to build up a political system as well. Yeah, with Tony Blair.
Yes.
Let's go.
What?
Yeah.
You look at the state of affairs like...
Well, this is the thing, right? Because I actually wanted to... I didn't know if we should discuss this or not, but I want to talk about this... The way that this peace plan, for those who are only listening, it's ironic. Because they've now announced this peace plan in Gaza. One thing is that they haven't mentioned the West Bank at all. There's no plan for it. Trump has said that Israel is not allowed to annex the whole West Bank, but it's not in this plan. But again, if you read the plan and the way that it's portrayed, it is again about this language, right, that has been used. Can you...
Yeah.
I want you to reflect a little bit around what are your thoughts around
the peace plans and big quotes.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw the press conference with Bibi and Trump, but it was so special. It was just each other talking each other up, discussing how to pronounce the Abraham Accords. And that was really what the peace plan is. Nothing. It is not only do they not mention the West Bank, you need to remember it happened in September, the declaration of the peace plan. Last September 18th, 2024, the UN General Assembly had declared that Israel should disengage from the West Bank and Gaza within 12 months. The peace plan declaration came 2 weeks after the deadline, right? And again, no mentioning of that decision. So the plan shows you it disregards international decision-making, international law for that matter, and Palestinian right to live. And more than that, the exclusion of the West Bank shows you what it is. Trump is trying to build a Riviera in Gaza. If you look at the people on the board, it is a lot of the oligarchs, right? And people that with economic, has nothing to do with justice. Which is really funny because I'm in Oslo right now, Yani. Reminds me of the Oslo Accords, Yeah. Zero kind of, that was also sold as a peace plan. Nothing for Palestinian, nothing.
Yeah. And we'll see now in the next few days what will actually happen because, Trump also said to Israel that they need to stop bombing immediately. They killed 79 Palestinians in Gaza yesterday. And there's only one person or one thing that is stopping the peace, and it's Israel. خلاص. And it sounds so obvious, but I still think that people don't know this.
Yeah. No, people still think it's a conflict.
Yeah.
They don't get it. They don't understand that Israel's the one with the bombs. Israel's the one with the drones. Israel's the ones with the soldiers, drafting its soldiers left and right. Israel's the one with loose gun regulations. Like their soldiers can just shoot legally, so they can never be held accountable. And they don't understand that Palestinians really don't have capacity to fight back. I don't think people, get that. And not just that, but, constantly in all these plans, it's never mentioned that Palestinians have the right to fight back and should be supported to fight back, sending weapons to Ukraine, for example, but Palestinians know. When it's Israel executing negotiators, when they're reaching close agreement times, they go and they execute the... Honestly, anyone that follows just the basic highlights of the news can tell, but people don't want to because it's easier to not.
Yeah. And I also think the thing that I think frustrates me the most, and it's something that you touched upon earlier as well, is that, you know, you're saying that people should come and learn from the Palestinians. And it's not that Palestinians don't know or can do. They are just not allowed to do. They are not allowed. I think about what could have been achieved if Palestine was free, and we were talking about this earlier as well. Like, but it's also this whole plan is just so dehumanizing, that the fact that an international body has to come in and govern Gaza, saying that actually Palestinians are not able to do the work themselves, and Palestinians are not even involved in the planning of this peace plan, in quotations, which is just like, it's just like history repeating itself. And I think that the dehumanization bit of it is something that a lot of people don't understand, because we are able to govern ourselves, we are able to do things, but we're not allowed.
But I think there's another point with that, is that even if we can't govern ourselves, that's our problem. That's a us problem.
Exactly.
It's not a you problem.
Yeah.
You know, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
I think we're not allowed to fight back. Gaza is not allowed to fight back. Jenin, Tulkarem, not allowed to fight back. The governance, I think, is always a fig leaf, you know? But then, what?
Yeah.
And they talk about Hamas and Fatah, and look, you guys don't even agree. A one-party system world, that's fascism. It's actually healthy to have multiple parties, you know? But they don't want us to fight back.
Exactly. What does resistance look like to you behind the headlines in the daily Palestinian life?
What do you mean behind the headlines?
Like, in the Western world, we see the headlines, right?
Yeah.
This is happening in the West Bank. This is happening in Gaza. What does resistance look like for you in the West Bank?
Like for me personally, or like around?
No, for you personally, yeah.
Yani the fact that I can still wake up and say, yani, I'm Palestinian, it's resistance. There's a lot of youth that, you know, it's really tough. It's really tough in the West Bank. Quality of life is really tough. No medical, you know, proper medical care, schools or employment. Financially, it's in crisis. So more people want to leave. Very natural, very human, very, like, understandable. So the fact that there's still people, you know, staying is resistance that, you know, I keep. Also, I'm like, wake up, Mariam, no, stay, that's your form. Stay. That's resistance. The fact that I refuse to normalize any of it for me, because it can become so easy. I will never love a checkpoint. I will never be okay with a checkpoint, you know? I will never be like, no, you just need to be patient, and like, no, I'm going to hate every minute of it. So like, I think that's resistance as well. And me, I think part of my capacity to resist this very oppressive system is doing things like interviewing the fighters when I did. Not that any of them are, most of them have been killed now, but that was also resistance because Israel denied that for so long, to not hear their. So it's listening to each other as Palestinians is resistance, I think, and remembering each other. Like for me, I cover the West Bank, but I also bring in Jerusalem. I also bring in Palestinians with Israeli citizenship, imposed exile, that, you know, I think that's as well. But yani, resistance is banal as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah.
But it's a beautiful answer, though.
Our last question for you is, which we ask all of our guests, is what is your favorite thing about Palestine?
Its people are insufferable. We are an insufferable people. And I love that about us. Because, you know, I really love that, especially, I don't know if you know about a lovely writer and a friend of mine, Mohammed Al-Kurd.
Yeah.
He wrote the perfect victims in the politics of appeal, you know, and how we constantly want to appeal. And there's always a problem, like trying to show Palestinians as perfect and like well-spoken. And I remember when I'd bring, you know, international journalists, I'd be like, here, interview. It's always so, yani, I'm like, yee, like, you know, how embarrassed. And I'm like, oh, no, actually, I love that.
Yeah.
So I love that. That's one of my favorite things about Palestine. And it's part of why, yeah, how much we love life. We love life. We love life. You'd see like Jenin refugee camp was in rubble, and these beautiful youth, like these men in their early 20s and their 30s together, friends, on top of the rubble of their house, just sitting, chilling, having argile. And like, this is great. We're happy. I was like, what? He was like, yeah, you might think this is insane, but he was like, this is great and we are happy. You know, he was like, the camp is not the stone, it is us. I love that. They're very obnoxious about it too. Like the soldiers are in the back and they're like, yeah, we're chilling. Insufferable. I love it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mariam, and also thank you for all the work that you do.
Thank you.
Despite the.
And your work.
No, we do nothing.
You do a lot.
We're just very fortunate.
But I would like to reject that notion. Yeah, you know, I feel like a lot of people abroad working for Palestine feel like there's not. No, it's so important, and it's a backbone to a lot of the moving forward. So, doing a lot. I thank you so much for that labor.
Thank you.
Thank
truly.
you. We're honored to have you, for sure.
Same.